Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. First, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says that conservatives want a rematch of the Civil War. Civil War over Chicago? That's like two people fighting over who gets to keep a dumpster fire. Then, new documents reveal that Biden's FBI and Jack Smith spied on 8 sitting Republican senators. Jack Smith didn't just cross the line, he designated an insurrectionist and froze its bank accounts. Next, Whoopi Goldberg told Super Bowl fans to tan themselves and fake Latin accents to confuse ICE. Only in 2025 could you have liberals doing brownface to own the conservatives. And finally, Taylor Swift fans are melting down, saying that her new album promotes white supremacy and traditional wives, proving that the left doesn't have allies, they have hostages who haven't screwed up yet. And then we go to the comments section on this segment we did about Brandon Johnson yesterday, where he designated ICE-free zones. A number of people were asking, is that legal? Can he really do that? So we'll dive into that. Okay, let's dive in. Sorry I said dive twice, but let's dive in anyway. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson claimed that conservatives want a rematch of the Civil War.
I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
Conservatives want a civil war over Chicago? Not if it means occupying Chicago. That's like invading Chernobyl, but with worse schools. A newly released document reveals that Biden's FBI spied on 9 Republican members of Congress, including 8 sitting senators, as part of its investigation into alleged 2020 election interference, codenamed Arctic Frost, because Operation Banana Republic was apparently already taken. The Arctic Frost probe began in April 2022 and was later taken over by former special counsel Jack Smith that same year and became his elector case against President Trump. The exact reasons behind the FBI's surveillance of these lawmakers remains unclear. Yeah, totally unclear. Probably just a coincidence that they all happen to be Republicans. According to the document, Smith and his Arctic Frost team investigating January 6th were tracking the phone calls of GOP Senators Lindsey Graham, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, Josh Hawley, Cynthia Lummis, Bill Hagerty, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, and GOP Representative Mike Kelly. Jack Smith saw that the FBI was spying on 9 senators, and his first thought wasn't, "This violates separation of powers." It was, finally, some good news. On The View, Whoopi Goldberg said that anyone going to the Super Bowl should tan themselves and use Latin accents to confuse ICE officers. She said this after Kristi Noem revealed that ICE officers would be at the event following the news that singer Bad Bunny is performing at the halftime show. The host started discussing how ICE will know who's who, and Whoopi said this.
Everybody, get a little cocoa butter, sit in the sun. That's the first thing. and this is the only time you can probably ever do this, give yourself a Latin accent.
You know, Whoopi, that is such a good idea.
It's a good thing that no one watches The View. Otherwise, we'd be worried about a stadium full of people doing brownface and bad Antonio Banderas impressions. Far-left Taylor Swift fans are furious over her new album, claiming it promotes white supremacy and being a traditional wife because there are lyrics about her wanting to have a family with fiancé Travis Kelce. The song Wish List has them particularly upset.
Taylor Swift is handing the conservative agenda on a silver platter to the masses. And moving on to Wish List, let's take a moment for these lyrics. They want a fat ass and a baby face. They want freedom. And say that again. I want to have your white babies, and I actually want our entire neighborhood to be racially homogenous.
Apparently, love is racist now, unless you're dating a non-binary barista with a septum piercing. Now, in this next clip, trad wife means traditional wife. I had to look it up. I had no idea.
I have subjected myself to listening to Taylor Swift's new album, and the song Wish List, yeah, that's trad wife propaganda. That is straight up trad wife propaganda. Why else would you put a song about wanting a whole block of kids looking like you?
You know your movement has a problem when your most famous supporter goes from proud childless cat lady to white supremacist in one album cycle. And now onto the comment section. So the first segment we're looking at is the segment about Rob Reiner saying that we had 1 year left for our democracy. We had this comment from Chris Menser. Rob Reiner, still a meathead after all these years. Nice little All in the Family reference there. And then remember in that clip that Rob Reiner said, you know, we have a year left for our democracy, and then it will be an autocracy. So anyway, we have this comment from Wild Bill 57. The Biden administration wasn't an autocracy, it was an autopanocracy. Just saying. And the next comment is on the Tina Turner statue segment that we did about how that terrible Tina Turner statue, and we started discussing different terrible statues. We talked about the MLK one, and then we brought up the Tish James one that was in New York. And I talked about how I did research and I didn't know where it was. It was in New York for a little while, and now nobody knows where it is, wherever the location is. So on that particular aspect of what we were talking about, like where is this big Letitia James statue, we had this comment from Laura Grinberg, 3988. Big Tish has her statue in her living room. I just thought that was great. Can you imagine if she did? Wouldn't that be hilarious if she did buy that statue? I'm sure she probably said, "I'd like to buy this for a friend. It's not for me, because that would mean I have a huge ego. So a friend of mine would like a statue of me. How much would you like?" And I want it delivered to my home. And I'm taking out the bay window so that we can get it in and I can have it in my living room. Okay. All right, then on to the Brandon Johnson segment. So this is where he signed an executive order declaring ICE-free zones in Chicago, saying that ICE couldn't use these parts of the city. And so we had a number of people commenting saying, isn't that illegal? Can he not do that? And this is one of those that we had. This is from James Meager, 7912. Is it illegal for state, county, city to refuse or recognize that federal law needs to be obeyed? So, this is, yeah, I mean, you cannot, because of the supremacy clause in the Constitution, federal law always trumps state law. That's just like a basic fundamental understanding of the supremacy clause. And I'll read that to you. This is from Article 6, Clause 2. And this basically says that, yeah, federal law takes precedence over any conflicting state, county, or local laws. So this is what it says, the supremacy clause. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So clearly he can't sign an order that conflicts with federal law. Now, and I know what they're trying to do in Chicago, because there's basically two things we need to look at. According to law, the federal government cannot compel the state to help them or assist with things. So that's why you can see local law enforcement not helping ICE do things, right? And so we have case law that says, okay, it's okay for states to not help the federal government, but they cannot impede, let's see, I looked this up, they cannot actively obstruct or impede federal operations. So the question is really going to be, this new order from Brandon Johnson, is it just saying they're not helping the federal government, or is it going far enough that they're actually obstructing or impeding these federal operations? And so, because that's where the line really is, and there's going to be a gray area. And I know exactly what Johnson is trying to do. He's trying to basically make it so he is impeding or obstructing ICE operations, but he's trying to act like, but I'm not really. All I'm saying is they can't use any city property, and also any businesses or people don't want them to be there, then they can't be there. Okay, well, none of your businesses want them to be there, right? Because I think all of you just want to, break the law nonstop in Chicago. I don't know, that just seems to be a thing. So anyway, that he can't sign or pass any law or order that would somehow trump a federal law. But that's really where the question is going to be, is whether it's impeding or obstructing, or whether it's just not helping the federal government. So I will certainly keep you posted as we watch and see if there's any lawsuits filed on that order. Thanks for watching Headlines, and if you have any friends or family who might enjoy my videos or clips, please send them a link. I would appreciate it. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.